Hello, everyone. So, today we're going to talk about the operant or the instrumental conditioning. So, this kind of conditioning was actually firstly investigated by B.F. Skinner. So, what Skinner studied, or what he rather noticed, was the occurrence of voluntary responses when an organism would operate on the environment, you know. He actually was able to notice these voluntary responses, which were very much under the control of the organism, unlike the classical conditioning, where he made the involuntary responses. That's what we studied in classical, but here we are talking about the voluntary responses. So he actually called them or named them as the operants. Now, what are operants? Operants are those behaviors or those responses which are emitted by animals and human beings voluntarily, and they are under their control. So they are basically voluntary responses, or rather behaviors. So they are basically called the operants. You know. Now, of course, when we try and make this kind of behavior a learned behavior, or the conditioning of operant behavior is what is called the operant conditioning. Now, how did he actually try and come to a conclusion for this? Of course, he conducted his studies on rats and pigeons, and he actually had to make very special boxes for this called the Skinner boxes. And in order to conduct the experiment, what he did was he made use of a hungry rat, and placed this hungry rat in the chamber, so to say, the Skinner box, which he was making use of. So he actually had put it into the chamber, and this chamber was basically closed from all the four sides. And the purpose was that the rat could actually not move outside the box. So he could literally just move around in the box only, helplessly, but not get out of it. So, what all was there in the chamber? So, there was a lever, you know, and this lever was something which could actually be pressed, you know and there was a lever, there was also a food container. So literally the lever was connected to the food container, and this food container was actually kept on the top of the chamber, you know so so of course we can very clearly see the box right in front of us, the Skinner box, you know and it's quite a simple device that was actually invented by B.F. Skinner, you know and there was a rat in the Skinner box, of course, placed, and there was also a lever, which also you can call the bar, and there was a container of food, which we can say that's placed on another chamber there on the left hand side, and that is kept on top of a chamber, actually, that food container. So basically, we can say that how you know literally that when the lever is going to be pressed, or the bar is going to be pressed, a food pellet is going to drop on the plate, and that plate will be kept very close to the lever. So of course, how does this happen? Initially, of course, this is going to happen very, very accidentally, not purposefully or not deliberately, because if we come to see, that actually the rat initially is just going to be running around in the chamber, actually, in this enclosed box, which is going to be absolutely closed from all the four sides. There is no way that the rat can get out of it. So initially the rat is just going to explore, going to run around, look around, going to find ways to get out of the box, literally. So he's going to exhibit this exploratory behavior, which actually is moving around, moving around, exploring around, moving around. So very accidentally he tends to press this lever, you know and once this lever is pressed, because Initially, yes, of course, we studied that the lever is connected to a food container, which we can see on top of the chamber, that side, left hand side. Because it is connected, the food pellet is just going to get dropped on the plate, which is going to be kept very close to the lever, you know. And of course, when the rat sees that, oh God, there's a food pellet right in front of me, so of course the rat is going to consume it, eat it. So then, of course, what's going to happen in the next trial? The exploratory behavior again is going to start. And again, the rat is going to start running around, literally start exploring, trying to find ways to get out. And now, of course, the number of trials will also be more. There'll be more repetitively performing the same thing, and the rat will have to go through these trials, many times. So, as and how the trials will, of course, increase, the rat will take less amount of time to actually press the lever. Why? Because the rat has become habitual. He's become quite used to this. He's learned this behavior in a way because this happened so many times that each time he goes into the chamber, he runs around, accidentally presses the lever, food drops. So, of course, with the number of trials, as and how, because it's now becoming a learned behavior, the rat will not take a lot of time to press the lever because somewhere he's learned that when I'm going to press the lever, the food pellet will drop you know so now the learning in a way, or the conditioning, is complete only when the rat will press the lever very quickly, or rather immediately, as soon as it is placed in the chamber. Then only we can say the conditioning or the learning has finally taken place. So after n number of trials, when I'm going to finally put the rat in the chamber, the rat will just get inside, and the rat is going to just press the lever without even running around or looking around. Just going to press the lever and the food will drop. Then I can say the final learning of the conditioning has finally taken place, right? So, of course, this is somewhere we can say that lever pressing is a very operant response, or it's a very voluntary behavior. The rat will then, of course, later start doing it on its own and not accidentally, actually. So it will become an operant response, or basically a voluntary behavior or response. And getting the food is the consequence, the result of it, basically. So this kind of learning, if we see, is also called the instrumental conditioning. Now, why? Because the response is instrumental in getting the food. Why is it called instrumental conditioning? Is because it's a method, basically, instrumental conditioning, where it's a method that occurs through rewards, punishments for behavior. you know so basically, we make use of reinforcers, reinforcement, punishments. They are used to either increase or decrease the probability that a behavior will occur again in the future, right? Now, because I want to increase the probability that the rat must get into the chamber and quickly press the lever. This is the kind of behavior that we are trying to encourage, a voluntary response, or rather, an operant response we are trying to encourage. So, what's going to happen? Food pellet will drop, right? So the food pellet here is the reward or the consequence that, of course, the rat will get in the end. And this reward, or this kind of positive reinforcer that the rat is getting, it's like a positive reinforcement, isn't it? So these reinforcers that, of course, the rat is getting in the end is basically increasing the probability of the rat to always go in the chamber and press the lever time and again. So it is increasing the probability of this kind of a behavior, you know. and it will continue to occur again and again in the future. So, this is nothing but instrumental conditioning, because I am actually making sure that a certain behavior is displayed through punishment or through reward, rather through positive reinforcement. So, here we are talking about the food pellet, which is but a positive reinforcer for the rat, right? So, had it been like literally that on pressing the lever, the rat is going to get a shock, electric shock, then I can say it's a punishment. And I'm actually discouraging the pressing of the lever. And I don't want the rat to press the lever again. So, as and how the rat presses the lever, the rat gets a shock. So, the rat will not do it again. So, I'm discouraging that behavior. And here the electric shock is the punishment, isn't it? So basically, I am trying to either increase the probability of the behavior so that it in a way occurs again and again in the future, or I'm trying to, in a way, make sure that this behavior is not exhibited again, you know. So basically, the increase or rather the decrease, it in a way depends entirely on the positive reinforcers, the rewards, the punishments. That is why this is called instrumental conditioning. And over here, the food pellet is but a positive reinforcer. And because the rat was constantly reinforced, he continued to press the lever again and again. And that is how this behavior was learned. He got conditioned to perform this behavior again and again. And this is what essentially is operant conditioning, which is all about the voluntary responses. And classical conditioning was all about the involuntary responses. Thank you so much, children.